My fiancé Caleb came to my house for the first time, and my parents specially came from our hometown to New York to prepare a sumptuous dinner. On the dining table, the roasted turkey was steaming hot, the apple pie looked particularly tempting, and there was also my favorite dish, cheese-baked lobster. My mom was busy preparing, while my dad chatted with Caleb about his recent project. The atmosphere was as harmonious as a family. Just as we were about to start eating, Caleb's phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen, furrowed his brow, then answered the call and put it on speaker. A sweet, slightly complaining voice came from the other end. "Caleb, where did you put the new bra I bought? And when are you coming back to watch a movie with me?" I froze, my fork suspended midair. My parents exchanged glances, their faces betraying a hint of embarrassment. Caleb seemed oblivious to the awkwardness and laughed. "Sophia, stop joking around. It's on your bedside table. He said he had something to do tonight and would come back later." "What's he doing? Isn't he just going to his girlfriend's place?" Sophia's voice on the other end suddenly rose. She had already been there for 2 hours, and if he didn't come back within 23 minutes, she wouldn't eat dinner tonight. This statement shocked me, and my cheeks flushed instantly. The time was precise down to the minute. Was this a competition of how much he was pampered? What was even more surprising was that Caleb looked concerned and whispered to me, "Don't be so stubborn. An empty stomach isn't good for your stomach. I'll be back soon." As he stood up to leave, I panicked and grabbed his shirt, whispering, "Caleb, today is the first time you've met my parents, and it's a big day to discuss marriage. Are you really just going to leave?" My father's face had already turned pale, and my mother quickly intervened, saying, "It's probably because your sister is still young and there's no one to take care of her at home. Caleb is just worried." Caleb nodded as he descended the stairs and said, "Yes, Sophia is only 20 years old. She's been very close to me since she was little and can't be separated from me. Uncle and Auntie, please don't blame me, but I just feel so unfair. Today is such an important day for Caleb and me, and he didn't even eat a single meal because his sister called and he had to leave." Moreover, Sophia's tone sounded more like a spoiled lover than a sister. Before I could say anything, Sophia called again, this time with a trembling voice, asking, "Caleb, are you coming or not? I'm waiting for you at the door. If you don't come, I'll really stop eating." I stared at Caleb, wanting to see how he would react. To my surprise, he just sighed, picked up his jacket, and turned without looking back, saying, "Emily, I need to go back. Sophia's stomach isn't feeling well. I can't let her go hungry." Mom noticed the tense atmosphere and tried to lighten the mood, suggesting, "Why don't you bring your sister over to eat with us? Your place isn't far from here." Caleb agreed and hurried toward the elevator, leaving behind a cold, indifferent figure. At the dinner table, the roasted turkey was still hot, but my mood was heavy. Dad put down his fork and said softly, "Emily, this man isn't reliable. Look at him. He doesn't even care about your parents' feelings." Mom gently tugged at Dad's sleeve and said softly, "Emily, don't overthink it. Caleb is probably just worried about his sister. When he comes back, we'll talk it out." I nodded reluctantly, my gaze fixed on the plate of lobster. After 3 years of being together, I had always believed that Caleb was the one who would walk beside me into the future. But now, his sister seemed like an insurmountable obstacle standing between us. An hour later, Caleb arrived slowly with Sophia. I opened the door and saw his sister first. She walked past me straight to the dining table, frowned at the dishes, and muttered, "Why are all these dishes so bland? I like pizza. Why didn't you make something spicy?" This made my mother's face turn sour, but she forced herself to respond politely, "Emily can't eat spicy food. These dishes were prepared according to her preferences." "How spoiled!" Sophia pouted, turned to Caleb, and said in a spoiled tone, "Caleb, when you marry her, make sure I get spicy food every meal too." Caleb smiled, gently pinched her nose, and replied softly, "Of course. Emily is a good cook. She'll make you pizza." I froze on the spot, feeling a surge of anger. What does that mean? Is cooking my responsibility? And after marriage, we have to live with this sister? I glared at Caleb and asked him, "What do you mean? We have a new house. Why do we have to live with Sophia?" Caleb seemed unaware of my anger, continuing to stroke Sophia's head and casually saying, "Emily, I've already promised to give the master bedroom in the wedding house to Sophia. She prefers a bigger room, so we'll live in the guest room with the kid, and the spare room will be for my parents. Do you have any objections to this arrangement?" I was really angry inside, unable to control my emotions. We bought this wedding house, and my family contributed the majority of the money. I was also responsible for the renovation, yet he didn't even discuss it with me and just gave the master bedroom to Sophia. Not to mention he arbitrarily decided our future living arrangements. Caleb, my family contributed more money to this house. Why should it be filled with your family members? I tried to control my emotions. Caleb was caught off guard by my question, his eyes darting around, and he whispered, "What's your family and my family? Once you marry me, we're family, right?" This statement made my parents frown. My father was about to speak, but Sophia jumped in front of Caleb first, pointing at my nose and shouting, "You're just thinking about the house even before you've married into the family? Emily, you're so calculating. If you marry my brother, everything you have will be his, and what's his is mine." After saying that, she pouted at Caleb. "Caleb, I told you this woman isn't as good as me. I care more about you." Her words left me speechless. Heartbroken? A younger sister actually telling her older brother she's heartbroken? That tone sounded just like a couple teasing each other. Just as I was about to kick this odd brother-sister duo out, Caleb's parents rushed in. Caleb's mother walked in and saw the grim expressions on our faces. She immediately smiled and said, "In-laws, Sophia is still young. Don't take her seriously." My parents exchanged glances. Though furious, they reluctantly let Caleb's family of 4 sit down to eat. As soon as we sat down, Sophia glared at me with an unhappy expression and shouted, "Emily, go sit over there. Caleb has to let me sit next to him." I gave her a cold smile and didn't move. Sophia wasn't satisfied and turned to Caleb to complain, "Caleb, look at her. She was giving me a dirty look before she even came in." "It's okay, Sophia. Come sit on my lap." Caleb patted his thigh. What was even more surprising was that Sophia actually sat down, raised her eyebrows at me in a provocative manner, and pointed at the apple pie on the table, saying, "Caleb, I want apple pie." Caleb didn't hesitate, picked up the entire plate of apple pie, and began feeding Sophia piece by piece. The entire family was stunned, feeling a bit awkward. Are they really siblings? They're just like a young couple. Mom smiled awkwardly, trying to lighten the mood, and said, "You two siblings really have a strong bond." I couldn't help but respond coldly, "Really? It's almost like they're already as close as a married couple." "Caleb, should we change our wedding to a sworn brotherhood ceremony? You treat me worse than you treat your brother." Caleb finally noticed I was upset and quickly pushed Sophia, saying, "Sophia, get down first." But as he tried to approach me, Sophia slapped his hand hard, and it dropped. Sophia looked at Caleb with a pout, hugging his neck and shouting, "You said you'd love me forever, didn't you? You'll buy me underwear, pick out apple pies, and watch movies with me, right?" Caleb gently stroked her head and said without hesitation, "Of course, Big Brother will always spoil you." Then he turned to me and asked, "Emily, since you're my sister-in-law, you'll be nice to Sophia too, right?" I was stunned by his question. Love this little sister who acts like a mistress. This is really a joke. Dad was so angry his face turned red. He slammed his hand on the table and said, "I've lived this long, and this is the first time I've seen a 20-year-old sister still sitting on her brother's lap. How can your family be so inconsiderate? I don't care about you, but don't drag my daughter into this." Caleb's father saw the situation was getting out of hand and rushed over to pull Sophia away, but she clung tightly to Caleb's neck and cried, "Caleb, now that you're married, are you going to leave me? It's clearly their problem. Why should I be blamed?" Caleb hugged her tenderly and then scolded me, "Emily, didn't you promise to be a good sister-in-law? How could you let your father speak to us like that?" I was amused by their sibling act and couldn't help but say, "Oh my gosh, I never knew you had such a bold little sister." "Emily!" Caleb was furious, thinking that such a small matter was worth arguing about in front of both sets of parents. I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "Caleb, we've been together for 3 years. This isn't easy. If you really want to marry me, I hope you'll focus your energy on our little family. The house is already prepared. I don't want your sister involved in our lives." Caleb refused without a second thought. "Absolutely not. Sophia is my family for life. I'll never change that for you. If you love me, you should love my family too. If you can't accept Sophia, there's nothing more to discuss about today's wedding." His words were like a bucket of cold water, completely dousing all my hopes. I couldn't help but tear up, quickly wiped my face, and said with a cold smile, "Then there's nothing more to discuss. Take your family and leave my house." My mother couldn't help but shout, "Get out. Don't ever bother my daughter again." As the Caleb family left, they were still muttering under their breath. How strange, they even had to argue over their own sister's affairs. I stopped my father, who was about to confront them, and said wearily, "Dad, don't waste your time on these people." I thought the matter with Caleb was over, but a few days later, he actually came to my workplace with Sophia and her best friend Megan. That day, I was organizing client files in the office when Lily, my colleague, knocked on the door and said, "Emily, there are 3 people outside looking for you. They say they're your friends." I furrowed my brows and stepped out of the office. At the front desk stood Caleb, with Sophia, who was heavily made up, and a stranger beside him. The girl was wearing a tight dress, her gaze sharp as if she were observing prey. Her name was Megan, Sophia's best friend. "Emily, I've come up with a solution to our problem." As soon as Caleb spoke, I felt uneasy. "Give Sophia and Megan the important client information. They can marry a wealthy man, move out, and we won't have to cram into the wedding room. Everyone will be happy." I almost laughed at his logic. Sophia rolled her eyes and complained, "If it weren't for Caleb, I wouldn't even look at those men." Megan snorted and continued, "Emily, you wouldn't be so stingy as to refuse to help with something like this, would you?" I struggled to control my emotions and replied calmly, "Client information is confidential company property. The VIP service costs 100,000 yuan per year, and I can only arrange it after payment." "Emily, are you joking?" Caleb was furious, pointing at me and shouting, "The information is right on your computer. Just move your fingers and it's done. Why are you even talking about payment? If it weren't for the fact that I still want to marry you, I wouldn't even bother letting Sophia go on a blind date." I laughed coldly and said, "Caleb, hearing your family's plans is truly shocking. You actually want something for nothing and are trying to use morality to force me?" Megan interjected, "Emily, I heard your family is pretty wealthy. Why are you being so stingy? Help Sophia out. She could be your sister-in-law someday." I didn't want to say much, so I called security to escort them out. But I still felt uneasy, like there was more to this than met the eye. The next morning, I received a call from my manager, Anna, her tone unusually serious. She asked, "Emily, what's going on?" "Several important clients complained this morning, saying you leaked their private information and the messages you sent were inappropriate. These clients are all big shot. I can't afford to lose them. Come to the office immediately to explain yourself." My head spun. Just yesterday, Caleb and his team came asking for documents, and now this happened today. It must be related to them. There was no time to think. I rushed to the office, pushed open Anna's door, and immediately saw Caleb holding Sophia, who was trembling in fear, in the corner. Megan stood nearby, glaring at me coldly. Several client representatives were furious. As soon as they saw me, they started yelling, "Emily, how dare you be so shameless? How dare you let your younger sister send such inappropriate messages to our young master? How could you mix business with personal matters and handle it so poorly? Don't you want to continue working in New York?" Anna handed me her phone, which displayed some WeChat chat records. Each message started with "Emily told me to," followed by some intimate messages from Sophia and Megan, the content of which made me feel very embarrassed. I glared angrily at Caleb, wanting to tell him, "Anna, I really didn't do any of these things. Give me some time, I'll investigate thoroughly." The client representative wouldn't let it go, asking what I was investigating. "The harassment has already happened. We've sent a lawyer's letter. You'd better prepare to compensate them." Just then, Caleb pulled me aside and whispered, "Emily, you must admit that you provided these materials and that you taught Sophia and Megan what to say. As long as they didn't steal it, the police can't touch them. Sophia did this for our marriage. You have to take responsibility." I was furious, but years of work experience kept me calm, and I secretly pressed the recording button. I pretended to give in and asked softly, "Caleb, after we argued that day, I didn't go back to the shared apartment. How did you get the client's information?" Caleb sighed in relief and said smugly, "I know you have a habit of writing important information in your notebook. You didn't give me the documents that day, and I thought you were intentionally trying to embarrass me so I'd have to beg you. Actually, Sophia already feels wronged by getting married, and if I go begging you, she'll be even more upset. So I took your notebook and gave it to them, hoping they'd have a better impression of you." I took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to snap, then turned to the client representative and Anna and said, "I'm sorry. This was indeed my fault. However, I can assure you that I did not provide these materials voluntarily." After saying that, I opened the recording on my phone and played it for everyone. Caleb clearly admitted that he took my notebook. Then, I played the surveillance video from the shared apartment. Although it didn't capture the moment they took the notebook, the video recorded Sophia and Megan's conversation in the living room. They said Emily was so stingy for not giving us the materials. But anyway, we already got the materials we had. "Sophia, you're so pretty. Finding a rich second-generation husband shouldn't be too hard, right? Then she'll have to call you sister-in-law." I don't want her to be my sister-in-law. Caleb is mine. No one can take him away. As soon as this conversation was played, the comments exploded. "What's going on? Is that really what the sister said? This is so uncomfortable. Their sibling relationship is way too strange. Megan is such a ruthless character. It seems like they're in cahoots. I continued, these documents are for work. They contain client privacy information. I never intended to leak them. Caleb stole my laptop, and Sophia and Megan used the documents to contact clients, then shifted all the blame onto me. I've already reported it to the police, and they're investigating. The live stream's viewership surged to 500,000, and public opinion began to shift. Many netizens began to doubt Megan's victim image, and some even dug up her past online posts where she boasted about her experiences. Gossip Bear asked a question, Emily, I heard you told Sophia to seduce a rich second-generation heir. What do you think about that? I scoffed. Instigation? I didn't even read the messages they sent. Sophia and Megan are adults. They did something illegal and are now shifting the blame onto me. This behavior isn't innocent. It's shameless. The comment section started filling up with messages supporting Emily, and I felt a little relieved. But just then, the live stream was flooded with new accounts, all screaming that Emily was lying. Megan was wrong. The company is going to shut down. Lily whispered in my ear, it looks like a lot of people are helping out. Maybe Megan's side is getting desperate. I clenched my teeth and faced the camera, saying, you think you can use online trolls to take me down? It's not that simple. The truth is out there, and I believe the police will clear my name. By the end of the live stream, over 1 million people were watching, and the trending topic shifted from Emily leaking private information to a company scandal. Although public opinion had improved slightly, I knew Megan and Sophia wouldn't let this go easily. The day after the live stream, John's private detective handed over an investigation report. I sat in Lily's apartment, flipping through the documents, feeling increasingly anxious. The report revealed that Caleb and Sophia were not biological siblings but step-siblings. Their father and mother had formed a new family when they were teenagers. Sophia had always lacked maternal love and became overly dependent on Caleb. Megan was Sophia's high school classmate, from a less affluent family, and harbored some jealousy, often encouraging Sophia to engage in questionable activities. What shocked me even more was that the detective found Sophia's diary, which contained her feelings for Caleb. The words revealed a strong sense of possessiveness. She wrote that Caleb had promised to take care of her for the rest of his life, and she didn't want him to marry anyone else, believing he belonged only to her. What did Emily mean to her? She shouldn't have taken Caleb away from her. I closed the file, my palms sweating profusely. Sophia's feelings for Caleb were no longer just familial, they had become overly extreme. Although Caleb hadn't reciprocated her feelings, he had been indulging her behavior, perhaps out of guilt or to maintain the appearance of family harmony. Lily finished reading the report and frowned. Emily, this brother and sister are no ordinary pair. Sophia clearly had psychological issues, and Caleb had been protecting her all along. No wonder you found it so unbearable. I smiled wryly. Before, I only thought he was particularly attentive to his sister, but now I realize this isn't a normal relationship. John called, sounding concerned. He asked, Emily, have you read the report? What do you plan to do next? I thought for a moment, then said seriously, John, I've decided to make this evidence public and expose Sophia and Megan's true nature. However, I need your help. What can you do to help me? John's voice sounded happy. He said, help me contact the media and compile the diary and investigation report into a news article to release. Additionally, I want to schedule another live stream to clarify all the truths. I paused for a moment and sincerely thanked him for always supporting me. John smiled and said, what's there to thank me for? I told you I wanted to be friends with you. This is nothing. After hanging up, I looked out the window at the night view, feeling a warm glow in my heart. John's arrival was like a ray of light, dispelling the gloom that had been weighing on me lately. However, the pressure from Caleb and Sophia was still closing in. Just as I was preparing for the second live stream, Megan struck again. This time, she posted a revealing video on a short video platform titled Emily Seduces a Wealthy Man and Forces Her Boyfriend's Sister to Go on a Blind Date. In the video, she spoke emotionally, claiming that Emily felt her boyfriend's family was poor and forced Sophia to get involved with a wealthy heir, threatening not to marry him otherwise. Sophia had no choice but to hand over the documents, never expecting to be framed by her. Once the video was posted, public opinion erupted again. Megan even hired online trolls to dig up my personal information, including my home address and company address. My phone started receiving numerous calls from unknown numbers, with text messages filled with abusive language, and some even threatened to come after me. Worse still, journalists gathered outside the company, along with a few radical netizens holding signs reading Emily, get out of New York. Anna called me, her tone sounding helpless. Emily, the board is under a lot of pressure. They want you to resign immediately, or the company might sue you. I clenched my phone tightly and told myself to stay calm. Anna, I won't resign. Give me 3 days and I'll definitely resolve this issue. After hanging up, I called John. John, Megan leaked my information. I need legal assistance. John sounded calm. Don't worry. I've already hired a lawyer and am preparing to sue Megan and Sophia for invasion of privacy and defamation. I've already protected your address. The journalists and those netizens won't come near you. Now you just need to focus on preparing for the live stream. Leave the rest to me. In fact, they're the ones in big trouble. The government has been cracking down on these issues recently, and they just happened to get caught up in it. I was so grateful I could barely speak. John's calmness and sense of responsibility made me feel, for the first time, that there was someone I could rely on. The second live stream was scheduled for Saturday night, and Lily invited Gossip Bear to host. This time, we switched to a larger live streaming platform called Starlight Live. John also hired a professional PR team to assist me. The title of the live stream was straightforward: Emily's Innocence and the Truth, exposing the puppeteers behind the scenes. Before the live stream began, I stood backstage, my palms sweating, repeatedly going over what I needed to say in my head. Lily patted my shoulder, handed me a bottle of water, and said, "Emily, relax. You have the evidence and the truth. The netizens aren't fools." At 8 p.m., the live stream began. On camera, I wore a simple white suit, my hair tied into a neat ponytail, trying to look as composed as possible. The number of viewers on the screen quickly rose, exceeding 500,000 within 5 minutes. The comments were mixed, with some supporting me and others expressing different opinions, but I was used to it. Hello everyone, I'm Emily. In my last live stream, I exposed the recording of Caleb secretly taking my laptop and the conversation between Sophia and Megan. Today, I have more evidence to prove that this entire incident was orchestrated by them from the very beginning. I first played the summary of the report provided by John's private detective, which clearly showed that Caleb and Sophia were step-siblings from a reorganization family. Due to a lack of childhood affection, Sophia developed an excessive dependence on Caleb. Then, I displayed several pages of Sophia's diary scans. Though the handwriting was a bit messy, the content was shocking. She wrote that Caleb was hers, and no one could take him away. She also expressed her dissatisfaction with Emily, believing that Emily was unworthy of Caleb. If Caleb marries her, I won't let them live in peace. The comments exploded instantly. Oh my God. Is this girl mentally unstable? The diary entries are terrifying. She's clearly a paranoid person. Caleb is such a disappointment. He knows his sister is doing these things yet still indulges her. I also want to say that Sophia and Megan stole my client files, forged information to frame me, and used some accounts and online trolls to create a public backlash, trying to ruin my career and life. Megan's so-called victim videos are just acting. I have evidence showing that they hired Starfire Media to handle the black PR. Lily happened to hand over another document showing transaction records obtained by Lily's friend from inside Starfire Media, which revealed that Megan paid 500,000 yuan using an anonymous account to buy trending topics and paid troll services. Gossip Bear continued, teasingly, "Wow, 500,000 yuan for trending topics? Megan sure is generous. What a pity. They spent the money but didn't follow through with the strategy." The live stream's viewership surged to 2 million, and the comment section was flooded with support for Emily. That's so satisfying. Megan, come out and apologize. The company is about to sue them. I took a deep breath and addressed the camera. I'm not a perfect person. This incident cost me my job and brought me a lot of criticism. I believe the truth will eventually come to light. I have submitted all the evidence to the police, and let the law handle Sophia and Megan's illegal actions. At the end of the live stream, the top trending topic was Emily's truth revealed, and netizens began frantically searching for Megan and Sophia's past, even digging up incidents from Megan's high school days where she spread rumors about her classmates. The shift in public opinion finally allowed me to breathe a sigh of relief. 3 days after the live stream, the police formally charged Sophia, Megan, and Caleb with stealing citizens' personal information, invading privacy, and defamation. John's legal team acted swiftly, helping me compile a complete chain of evidence to ensure they had no chance of overturning the charges. On the day of the trial, I testified as a witness. Seeing Sophia's listless face, I felt no pity for her. In court, Sophia cried like a child, claiming she had only acted impulsively out of love for her brother. Megan shifted the blame onto others, stating she had merely helped a friend and had no idea such actions were illegal. Caleb kept his head down, saying nothing, as if he had lost all his energy. The judge coldly interrupted their defense, stating their actions were illegal, and emotions were no excuse. In the end, Sophia was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Megan, who had played a lesser role, received 1.5 years, and Caleb, as an accomplice, was given 6 months probation and ordered to pay over $2 million in compensation. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Lily was waiting for me at the door, handing me a cup of milk tea. "Emily, Congratulations on winning. Let's celebrate with hot pot tonight. I smiled and took the milk tea but shook my head. Lily, I need to go back to the office first. There are some things I need to handle. Back at the office, the atmosphere in Anna's office was noticeably more relaxed. She handed me a document with a gentle tone. Emily, the board reviewed your live stream and was very satisfied with your performance. Although this incident caused the company to lose some clients, your response also served as free advertising for us. Now several investment companies want to invest, but their condition is that you stay here. I was a bit surprised that things had turned out this way. Anna continued, however, your position will be adjusted from client manager to operations director, responsible for the entire platform's public relations and brand management. I'll accept it. I nodded without hesitation. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, company, for giving me this opportunity. I stepped out of the office and called John, my voice filled with joy. John, I got promoted. I'm now the operations director. You have to treat me to a meal to celebrate. John laughed happily and said, of course I will. That evening, I made a reservation at that Michelin-starred restaurant by the Bund. After hanging up the phone, I stood downstairs at the company building, watching the bustling crowd, feeling a long overdue sense of relief. Caleb's betrayal and Sophia's schemes nearly cost me everything, but they also taught me how to become stronger and fight back. John's appearance made me believe even more that those who work hard will always find a way out. Just when I thought everything was resolved, Caleb reappeared. That day, as I left the office building after work, he was standing by the roadside, wearing a wrinkled shirt, looking tired and vulnerable, much like the person I had once loved. Seeing me, he hurriedly walked over, his voice trembling. Emily, I was wrong. Let's get back together. He emphasized that Sophia had already been punished and promised to only be good to me from now on. I gave him a cold smile, glancing at him sideways. Caleb, do you think I'm a trash can? Just here to collect your regrets? Sophia ended up in prison because of you. Now you're coming to me, thinking I'll forgive her? Caleb grew impatient and tried to grab me. Emily, I know I let you down, but after 3 years together, don't you want to hold on to any of that? I've cut all ties with Sophia. I swear. I pushed his hand away, my tone icy. 3 years together? In those 3 years, you gave your heart to Sophia. I was just a sidekick. Now that you're in trouble, you want me to help you? This is ridiculous. Caleb was about to say something else when he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Mr. Caleb, please watch your behavior. John stepped out of a black sedan, dressed in a neat suit, exuding confidence. I couldn't help but wonder why I had ever found emotionally vulnerable and melancholic men attractive. They always avoid taking responsibility. Instead, they act like spoiled children. He walked over to me, gently wrapped his arms around my shoulders, and smiled at Caleb, saying, Emily is in my care now. You don't need to worry. Caleb froze for a moment, his face turning pale. He tried to say something but ultimately didn't, turning away unsteadily. Watching his back, I suddenly felt he was more heartbreaking than ever before. John looked down at me and asked gently, are you okay? Just got off work and ran into someone like that. It's really annoying. I smiled and shook my head. I'm fine. As long as you're here, I'm not afraid. 3 years later, John and I got married at a 5-star hotel on the Bund in New York. John personally handled all the wedding preparations, from the flower arrangements to the menu, with every detail exuding a sense of ceremony. He designed the engagement ring himself, with our initials engraved on the band, simple yet unique. My father looked at the ring and smiled broadly. John, you really know how to say the right things. You're better at it than I was back in the day. On the day of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror in my custom-made wedding dress, unable to believe how happy I was. Lily helped me adjust my veil and teased, Emily, you've gone from Cinderella to a princess. John really has nothing to complain about with you. I blushed and whispered, stop teasing me. Check if my makeup looks okay. Before the ceremony began, John held my hand, his eyes so gentle they seemed ready to overflow with tears. He said to me, Emily, you're so beautiful today. It's like you stepped out of a dream. I swear, I'll only ever be good to you. His words moved me to tears, and I smiled, saying, you've said that so many times. Don't you find it annoying? Not enough. His eyes were red and his voice was choked up. It felt like a lifetime wouldn't be enough. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the banquet hall. A shrill female voice shattered the warm atmosphere. Caleb, she's already married. What are you doing here? I'm back. You don't have to worry about her anymore. My heart sank. I followed the sound and saw Sophia pulling Caleb at the door. 3 years in prison had left Sophia gaunt and emaciated, with deep bags under her eyes, yet her gaze still held a hint of obsession. Caleb looked haggard and disheveled, with a scruffy beard, making him appear at least 10 years older. Sophia burst into the banquet hall, pointing at me and shouting, Emily, How dare you be so happy? If it weren't for you, Caleb and I would have been fine. Caleb tried to grab her, angrily saying, Sophia, enough. Don't make this any more embarrassing. But Sophia had lost control of her emotions. She pushed Caleb away, walked to the wedding poster, and spat on my photo. This is too much. It's all your fault. Our family is ruined, and Caleb still thinks about you. What right do you have to do this? The crowd murmured in astonishment. John frowned and signaled for security, but I stopped him and calmly said, let me handle this. I walked up to Sophia, looked her in the eyes, and said, Sophia, you hate me because Caleb doesn't love you. You're blaming your own failures on me, but unfortunately, no one will feel sorry for you. Sophia stood there, her lips trembling, as if she wanted to say something. But Caleb suddenly lost his temper, rushed forward, grabbed Sophia's wrist, and shouted, enough. Don't you think this is embarrassing enough? We may not be biological siblings, but you'll always be my sister. I've never liked you. I hope you can let go. These words hit Sophia like a blow, shattering her illusions. She collapsed to the ground, crying bitterly. Caleb, you lied to me. You said you'd always be good to me. Caleb knelt down, hugging his head and crying, Sophia, I truly regret it. If it weren't for you, I would have married Emily long ago. I just want to be your brother. Please let me go. The guests present looked at each other in shock, some whispering, others taking out their phones to snap photos. I coldly watched the scene unfold and told the security guard, take them out. Don't let them disturb my wedding. The security guard immediately stepped forward and led Caleb and Sophia out. Sophia was still struggling, shouting, Emily, you'll get what's coming to you. Caleb, however, kept his head down, looking lifeless. John walked over to me, took my hand, and whispered, Emily, I'm sorry they ruined your good mood. I smiled and shook my head. They're the ones who should be apologizing. Besides, what's there to be upset about? Seeing those who wronged me get their comeuppance felt incredibly satisfying. The wedding continued, and Caleb and Sophia's incident became the topic of conversation among the guests, but no one felt sorry for them anymore. During the ceremony, John held my hand and said earnestly, Emily, thank you for giving me the chance to take care of you for the rest of my life. Hearing this, my eyes welled up with tears, and I smiled and replied, John, thank you for making me believe that happiness is something worth looking forward to. After the wedding, we moved into John's new home in New York, a villa near the river with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of the Hudson River at night. I quit my job at the company and started a wedding planning business with Lily, specializing in designing meaningful weddings for young people in the city. John became my first client. He smiled and said, wife, plan a 10th anniversary celebration for me. The budget is all yours. As for Caleb and Sophia, no one cared about their fate. I heard that Sophia had some mental health issues and was admitted to a rehabilitation center. Caleb lost his job, moved to another place, and completely disappeared from my life. Megan, who owed a lot of money, became a laughingstock in the influencer circle and never regained her popularity. One evening, John and I sat on the balcony. He held 2 glasses of red wine and smiled, asking me, Emily, if we could go back 3 years, would you still be with Caleb? I leaned against his shoulder and shook my head. No. Those 3 years taught me that loving someone shouldn't mean letting yourself be mistreated. John gently kissed my forehead and said softly, all right, from now on, I'll be the only one who makes you happy. I looked up at him and smiled, no problem.